In March of 2026, the prime ministers of 5 northern nations gathered in Oslo: Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. 5 nations bound by blood, by language, by geography, and by something far older than any modern border. They came because one man, the president of the most powerful nation on Earth, had declared his intention to claim sovereign territory in the Arctic. Greenland, the headlines called it a diplomatic dispute, the analysts called it geopolitical pressure. But when you look at what was actually happening beneath the surface, the picture becomes far more unsettling, because the land being claimed is not just land. The Arctic, the northernmost edge of the habitable world, has carried a spiritual weight in the oldest mythologies of mankind. And the nations that gathered in Oslo do not merely share a modern political alliance. They share an ancestry that stretches back to the age of the gods, to the age of the Aesir, to the age when beings of terrifying power walked the frozen earth and ruled over men. The Norse called them gods. The Book of Enoch calls them something else entirely, and the implications reach far beyond a territorial disagreement. What if the real reason the Nordics gathered was not about land at all, but about something buried beneath it? What if the tension between world powers over the Arctic is not about resources or military positioning, but about access to what lies sealed in the ice at the edge of the world? If this opens something you have never considered before, subscribe and stay with us, because what we are about to uncover forces you to rethink the oldest maps, the oldest myths, and the real reason the powerful have always fought over the frozen north. To understand what the Nordic nations truly represent, you must go back to the beginning, not to the founding of Denmark or the unification of Norway. Further, to the mythological origin of their entire civilization. The Norse Eddas, the oldest surviving literary records of Northern Europe, describe a cosmos divided into 9 realms. At the center stood Midgard, the realm of men. Above it, Asgard, the realm of the gods. And the gods of Asgard were not abstract spirits. They were physical beings, towering, beautiful, terrifyingly intelligent. The texts describe them with hair like spun gold, eyes the color of northern sky, skin pale as winter light. The Aesir, the ruling pantheon of the Norse world. They did not merely observe mankind. They walked among men. They taught them. They bred with them. Odin, the Allfather, wandered the earth in disguise, gathering forbidden knowledge. Thor defended the boundary between worlds. Freya moved between realms with a power that unsettled even the other gods. And the implications of this are staggering when placed beside Genesis 6, because the Bible describes an almost identical event: beings from a higher realm descending to earth, taking human wives, producing offspring of terrifying power. The sons of God saw the daughters of men, and they took wives from among them, the Watchers, the fallen ones, the beings who crossed the boundary between the divine and the human, and in doing so, corrupted the entire world. The Norse called them gods. The Hebrews called them abominations. But the description is the same: tall, luminous, ancient, and they came from the sky. The Book of Enoch records something that mainstream theology has spent centuries trying to bury. 200 angels, led by a commander named Semjaza, descended upon Mount Hermon and swore an oath. They would cross the boundary. They would take human women. They would teach mankind the secrets of heaven: metallurgy, sorcery, astrology, the art of war. And from these unions came the Nephilim, giants, beings of such terrifying size and appetite that the earth itself groaned under their weight. The text says they devoured the produce of all people until men could no longer sustain them. And then the Nephilim began to devour men themselves. This is not mythology, this is the text. But here is the detail that connects directly to the Nordic world. Enoch records that after the flood, the Watchers were not destroyed. They were imprisoned, bound in chains of darkness beneath the earth, sealed in valleys of ice and stone until the day of judgment. The ancient Norse texts describe something hauntingly similar. Beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, the great world tree, lies Niflheim, the realm of ice, the realm of primordial cold, fog, and darkness. And in the deepest part of Niflheim, the dead are held. Not ordinary dead, the dishonored dead, the beings who defied the cosmic order. Two traditions, separated by thousands of miles and centuries of time, describing the same thing. Fallen beings of immense power, sealed beneath layers of ice, waiting, and the silence around it feels deliberate. In the 1950s, something strange began to happen. Across Europe and the United States, men and women began reporting encounters with beings that did not match any known description of extraterrestrial life. They were not grey. They were not insectoid. They were breathtakingly human, tall, fair-skinned, blue or green eyes, hair like white gold, physically perfect, and radiating a calm, almost unsettling authority. They became known in classified intelligence circles and in the emerging field of ufology as the Nordics. George Adamski, one of the earliest and most controversial contactees, described meeting a being from Venus in the California desert in 1952. The being was tall, slender, with shoulder-length blonde hair and an ageless face. It communicated telepathically and warned of nuclear destruction. In 1954, rumors emerged that President Eisenhower himself had been taken to Edwards Air Force Base to meet a delegation of these same beings, pale, luminous, offering a deal: disarm your nuclear weapons, and we will share the knowledge of the cosmos. The offer was reportedly refused. What is rarely discussed in these accounts is the description itself, because the beings described by these witnesses are not merely alien. They are identical in every physical detail to the Aesir gods of Norse mythology. The same height, the same coloring, the same presence, the same knowledge, and they are identical to the description of the sons of God in the Book of Enoch. Beings of radiant beauty, carriers of forbidden knowledge, descending from the heavens to interact with mankind. The pattern does not change, only the language used to describe it. Now consider Greenland, the largest island on Earth. A landmass covered in ice up to 3 kilometers thick. Beneath that ice lies terrain that has not been exposed to sunlight in over 100,000 years. And beneath that terrain, geological surveys have revealed anomalies that science has struggled to fully explain. In 2016, a massive crater was discovered beneath the Hiawatha Glacier in northwest Greenland. 31 kilometers across, hidden under nearly a kilometer of ice. The impact that created it was so powerful that it would have reshaped the landscape of the entire northern hemisphere. And the dating of the crater has been the subject of intense scientific debate, with some estimates placing it at the end of the last ice age, roughly 12,000 years ago, the same period that the oldest myths describe as the end of the age of the gods. The Norse Eddas describe a cataclysmic event called Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, a war so devastating that it shattered the old world. Fire and ice consumed the earth. The gods fell, the great tree trembled, and the world was submerged in water before being born again. Ragnarok, the flood, the end of the antediluvian world, and the epicenter of this cataclysm, according to the Norse tradition, was in the frozen north, the place where the gods had built their kingdoms, the place where the boundary between worlds was thinnest. Greenland sits at the edge of that mythological geography, and it forces us to rethink what exactly lies buried beneath all that ice. The Watchers did not merely descend, they taught. The Book of Enoch lists their curriculum with chilling specificity. Azazel taught mankind the forging of weapons and the crafting of shields and breastplates. He showed them the metals of the earth and the art of working them. Semjaza taught enchantments and the cutting of roots. Armoros taught the resolving of enchantments. Barakiel taught astrology. Kokabeel taught the constellations. Sariel taught the course of the moon. Forbidden knowledge, celestial secrets poured into the minds of mortal men, and the Norse myths echo this with haunting precision. Odin, the Allfather, was the god of wisdom, knowledge, and secret runes. He sacrificed his own eye at the Well of Mimir to gain the hidden knowledge of the cosmos, to receive the runes, the sacred symbols that encoded the laws of reality itself. The runes were not mere letters, they were instruments of power, knowledge extracted from the architecture of creation. The parallel is unmistakable. In both traditions, divine beings possess knowledge that was never meant for human hands. And in both traditions, the transmission of that knowledge to mankind triggers catastrophe, because knowledge without the spiritual maturity to wield it does not elevate, it corrupts. And Enoch records the result with devastating clarity. The earth cried out, the blood of the slain reached heaven, and God sent the flood. The Norse record the same result. The knowledge of the gods once unleashed leads inevitably to Ragnarok, the end of everything. The Norse world was not a peaceful cosmos. It was a battlefield, and the primary enemies of the Aesir gods were the Jotnar, the giants. The Jotnar were born from the primordial frost. Ymir, the first giant, emerged from the melting ice of Niflheim, and from his body came an entire race of beings who existed before the gods' established order. They were chaotic, immense, hostile to the divine structure of the cosmos, and the Aesir spent their entire existence fighting them. Thor, the thunder god, was not a hero of romance or poetry. He was a weapon. His sole purpose was the destruction of giants. Mjolnir, his hammer, was forged for one reason: to crush the skulls of the Jotnar before they could breach the walls of Asgard and devour creation. The parallel to the biblical narrative is almost too precise. The Nephilim, the offspring of the Watchers, were giants of such terrible appetite that they consumed everything in their path: human food, human livestock, and eventually humans themselves. They were abominations, hybrids that defied the natural order, and God's response was the same as Odin's perpetual war: total destruction, without appeal, without exception. But there is a critical difference. In the Norse tradition, the war with the giants never ends. It continues until Ragnarok, when the Jotnar finally breach the walls and the world burns. In the biblical tradition, the Nephilim were wiped out by the flood. Or were they? Because the text says they were on the earth in those days and also afterward. The giants survived, the corruption endured, and the implications are terrifying. Return now to the modern world, to the testimony that has leaked from military insiders, intelligence operatives, and government officials over the past 7 decades. Charles Hall, a former United States Air Force weather observer, spent years stationed at Indian Springs near Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. His testimony describes ongoing interactions with a group of beings he called the Tall Whites, beings standing between 6 and 8 feet tall, pale skin, white blonde hair, blue eyes that seemed to shift color in certain light. They moved with a slow, deliberate grace. They spoke in a language he could not identify, but that they translated perfectly into English when they chose to. They had a base inside the restricted military zone, and they had an arrangement with the United States government. Hall's testimony is not the only one. Former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer stated publicly that at least 4 species of extraterrestrial beings had been visiting Earth, and that some had agreements with world governments. The description he gave of one of those species matched the Tall Whites precisely. And the oldest of these claims centers on Eisenhower. February 1954, a secret visit to Edwards Air Force Base. A meeting with beings described as radiantly beautiful, humanoid, with features that witnesses called angelic. They offered technology. They offered spiritual insight. They asked for the dismantling of nuclear weapons. The offer was refused, and a different deal was struck. The description of these beings has not changed in 70 years. Tall, pale, luminous, ancient, carrying knowledge that does not belong to this world. The Watchers never left. They simply changed the language of the meeting, and now the pieces converge. In 2025, the Trump administration declared its intention to acquire Greenland, not through purchase, through pressure, through the assertion that Greenland was a matter of national security for the United States. The diplomatic language was modern. The urgency was ancient. The Nordic nations responded with a unity that surprised the world. Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden formed a diplomatic wall. They invoked territorial integrity. They invoked the rule of law. They brought Canada into the fold. They held summits in Oslo and Turku. They issued joint statements declaring the pressure unacceptable. But beneath the diplomacy, a deeper question lingers: why Greenland? Why now? The official answer is strategic positioning. The Arctic ice is melting faster than any model predicted. New shipping lanes are opening. Rare earth minerals are becoming accessible. Military installations are being planned by Russia, China, and the United States along the northern rim. But the Arctic has always attracted powers that seek something more than resources. The Thule Society, the occult organization that shaped the ideological roots of the Third Reich, took its name from Ultima Thule, the legendary land at the northernmost edge of the world. The Nazis sent expeditions to the Arctic and to Tibet, searching for the remnants of an ancient master race, a race of tall, fair-skinned, blue-eyed beings with knowledge predating every known civilization. The description never changes, and now the most powerful nation on Earth is applying unprecedented pressure to claim the largest ice-covered landmass in the Arctic. A landmass with geological anomalies buried under kilometers of frozen silence. The idea carries an unsettling weight. The Book of Revelation speaks of a time when the seals will be broken, when the beings imprisoned in the abyss will be released, when the fallen ones, bound since the days before the flood, will walk the earth once more. Revelation 9 describes the fifth trumpet. A star falls from heaven. A key is given to unlock the shaft of the abyss, and from the abyss rise beings of such terrible power that mankind is tormented for 5 months. Not killed, tormented, as if the purpose is not destruction, but a slow unveiling, a forced remembrance of what was sealed away. The Norse tradition describes the same event. Ragnarok begins not with a battle, but with a loosening. The great wolf Fenrir breaks his chains. The serpent Jormungandr rises from the sea. Loki, the deceiver, is freed from his prison beneath the earth. The frost giants march from Niflheim, crossing the rainbow bridge into the realm of the gods. The seals break, the ice melts, the ancient ones emerge, and we are watching the ice melt right now, literally, faster than any model predicted, revealing land that has been hidden for 100,000 years, opening passages that have been sealed since before the age of recorded history. The Nordic nations gathered in Oslo because they understand something that the rest of the world has not yet grasped. The North is not just a region on a map, it is a boundary, a threshold, a seal placed between what was buried and what will return. And the powerful are not racing to the Arctic for minerals or shipping routes. They are racing because the seal is thinning, and what lies beneath is beginning to stir. Subscribe now and tell us in the comments, what do you think is really buried beneath the ice at the edge of the world? Because this story is far from over.